welcome to episode 67 of Retro Recall the PS1 Chronicles, a show where we play and rank every PlayStation game ever created. My name is Jimmy, and as always, I'm here with Mike.
Hello.
So we have an interesting game this week, one that you actually got me. I've definitely never heard of this. And I want to know how you found this game, because, you know, you're trying to get me all the time with these random picks, and you finally won. So there you go.
I'm surprised, finally. It's been a while, actually, since I got you.
Yeah.
But I always want to go for something just obscure. And so I knew coming up on my pick, I wanted to find something random or weird or just like, what the hell is going on in this game? I went through a bunch of lists and they kept repeating the same games over and over again. I'm like, oh, you got to play, what is it, LSD simulator or whatever.
Yeah.
I'm like, God, I don't want any of these ones that just keep popping up. And I found this one specific list that just listed these really odd ones that no one else was talking about. And Pinobee was one of them. And just from the cover, I'm like, well, this looks kind of interesting, I think. So let's just go for it.
I mean, there are some things that are interesting about it, for sure. But I wouldn't say it's worthy of being on one of those, like, weirdest games on the PS1. Like, it's not really weird at all, right?
No, after playing it, I'm like, why was this on the list? What was someone thinking putting this on the list?
I mean, the circumstances in which this game was made is weird, but
Yes.
I think the game itself is pretty standard.
Yeah, and we will be covering why it's such a weird choice to even be on this episode.
Yeah, I mean, so Pinobee is trying to clear. I keep saying it, and I'm like, how do I say it? Is it Pinobee, whatever? Who cares? I don't know.
Yeah, we don't know the actual way to pronounce this.
We'll never find out. So
No.
yeah, Pinobee is trying to be a mascot for Hudson, right? And do you think this character is a good mascot? Like, I don't think so, really, but
I don't, but I mean, I know your follow-up to this is what would make a good mascot.
yeah.
And I've been thinking about this question since I read it in the rundown, and it's really hard because you look at characters like Crash Bandicoot, you look at Spyro, the things that have carried on since we were children up until now, still coming out with stuff. And it's like, why did they succeed as mascots? Sonic also. What I really think it comes down to is the mascot is heavily dependent on the gameplay. If the gameplay is good, the mascot succeeds. But if you have a good designed mascot, but the game sucks, then you don't make it anywhere.
Well, that's part of it for sure. But my point to this was going to be, I think it just all comes down to the marketing and the amount of money that's put into, you know, marketing this towards either kids or whoever it's meant to be for. Because, you know, your example, Spyro and Crash, they were heavily marketed to be Sony mascots to go up against Sonic and Mario. But there are a lot of failed Sega and even failed Nintendo mascots that no one really gives that much about.
Right, but to counter your point, look at Sonic, look at Mario. Like, they weren't heavily promoted. They were just games that came out when we were children that had a ton of attention on it.
Well, I will say Mario, yes, but Sonic was different. I feel like, you know, I don't know this for sure. I think I've read this somewhere or one of those documentaries, but that Sonic was, you know, locked and loaded to be Sega's mascot. Because, you know, the game came out, they had the cartoons, they had everything ready to go.
Oh, okay.
But, you know, doesn't matter. Regardless, you know, it worked. I just think, like, why do I remember, like, Gex? You know what I mean? Like, I know who Gex is. Why do I remember him? There was probably 30 other ones.
What was that other one? Finks or something?
Finks.
We did it on the mini show of the weekend game cover show. Like, is the one I said that was like Sonic that also looked like Tails at the same time.
I don't remember, but I can see it in my mind.
Yeah,
but I mean, there's like so many of them, dude. Like,
I don't know. I really just think it's a swing sometimes of just, hey, we're throwing out this mascot. Is it going to stick? We're gonna see whenever it comes out, because sometimes even the most obscure ones that they probably didn't even think that would become relevant end up becoming relevant.
I mean, you're not wrong. And I do think the quality of the game definitely plays a large part in it. But on all ends of the spectrum that we're talking about, this game fails on those as far as like to make Pinobee a mascot.
Oh, 100%. And they even tried to make a second game out of this too. And I don't know how well that one did, but they really tried to push for this to be a mascot.
Yeah, I mean, technically there's 3 games in this. You know, there's the original, there's this version, then there's the sequel.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I wish I knew more about the behind the scenes marketing thing to understand what really goes on in that side of the world.
Mm-hmm.
Because it is an interesting question to just be like, why would this guy succeed while something that does look really cool fails? That's why I just think it comes down to gameplay. If you have a memorable game, your character is going to be memorable as well.
Yeah, no, I think you're right. And with that, I think we should just hop right in here. Pinobee was released on April 17th, 2003. I feel like giggling every time I say that name because I'm like, it sounds stupid.
It does.
It is a port of a Game Boy Advance game that came out in 2001. This is the only Game Boy Advance to PS1 port to exist. It doesn't make any sense.
Nope.
And I think part of the reason why this even does exist was that it was directed by the creator of Sonic the Hedgehog, Naoto Oshima, I believe is how you say that. I mean, that's probably wrong, but yeah, I mean, a PS1 GBA port coming out 3 years after the PS2 is out is insane work. I just don't even know.
We talked about how Turnabout was a year after the PS2 came out, and we're like, that's insanity. Why would you do that 3 years after? It's like, why? How does that make any sense to you?
I truly do not understand the thought behind this existing whatsoever. Because it looks like what it is. Like, it's not like it's like, oh, like it looks really nice. It looks like a fucking Game Boy Advance game.
Mm-hmm. Well, so I did some digging into it, as I'm sure you probably did too. Like, it wasn't, I don't think it was actually the developer's idea. The publisher came out and was like, hey, you have this IP. Do you want to port this over to PS1? So they're like, yeah, why don't we just get it out to more people? And that's literally how it came about.
It's just incredibly surprising to me because, you know, a lot of these kind of games, like later life cycle games for a system, don't usually come over to the US. Like, what made this game come over to the US when so many like Aconcagua and all those other games, they couldn't make it, even though they already were proven to be good games. But let's port this GBA game that no one gives a fuck about to the PS1.
And that's where probably who the person was behind it comes into play a little bit.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm sure the person whose decision this was like fired or something. Like,
the better idea here would have been, hey, the PS2 is out. Why don't we use your IP of Pinobee and make a game for the PlayStation 2?
Make a 3D platformer, maybe.
Yep. Use your character, use this guy, and make a good game on the current gen. That probably would have done so much better than what this is about to do.
Also, I didn't say, because we just went right into it, but it was developed by ArtTune, who I'm not familiar with, and published by Hudson in Japan and Konami in North America.
Yeah, so I dug through their discography a little bit because I was curious. And
calling it a discography is also funny.
That was the first word that popped in my head.
I don't know what you would call it, but go ahead.
Yeah. They primarily just not surprisingly, worked on Game Boy Advance games and Nintendo like handheld systems.
Yeah.
Now, with all that said,
Okay.
we need to start this conversation off. I was gonna save it for the scoring, but I think we should have it early on. Of like,
All right.
how fair can we be in this game judging it, considering the fact that it's a Game Boy Advance game? Like, this isn't even a PlayStation game technically.
I don't really think I agree with that kind of thinking, just because, like, okay, I'm trying to think of another example, like Magic Carpet. That's just a PC game. It's not even a PlayStation game, right? You know what I mean? Well, just hold on. Let me finish.
Okay.
Did you look at what the Game Boy Advance version looks like of this?
No.
Okay. So it is a little different. It's a little more pixelated. The music is like crunchier. I don't know if you know what that means, but Game Boy Advance games had that weird sound to it.
Yeah, I know. I can hear it.
Yeah. And I mean, this is not a remarkable upgrade, but it is different enough that I would say this is not a 1-to-1.
Oh, okay.
Even though I'm going to talk shit on it like it was, but
All right, that's more fair then. If I looked at that, I probably would have been more in tune with what happened in the past.
I mean, it's really not that big of a difference. Like, I'm not trying to tell you it's like crazy different, but it is a little different.
Okay.
There's plenty of things to say about this game that are bad. I don't think that needs to be one of them yet. So
okay.
All right. So just to start,
yes,
the story of this game is Pinocchio.
Through and through. This is, hey, we have a grandpa building a child, and the child needs to come to life. Cool. And I even read like that was their direct inspiration for this game.
It's not even inspiration; it's just plagiarism, really.
It really is. What if instead of a doll, we have a robot bee?
Yeah, I mean, I was gonna call it Pinobee because I think that's kind of funny, but it also is really lame.
And I was reading too, like it was supposed to be a normal bee, but then they're like, what if we just made him a robot boy? Oh, why? It doesn't change anything.
I mean, I guess the story makes a little more sense with it being like a robot he's trying to bring to life and not a bee, because bees are already alive.
Also true.
I don't know,
I didn't really think about that part. But no, yeah. It's the story too, and like the intro cinematics. Maybe one of the most minimalistic intros we've ever had.
I want to ask you, just going into this, did you have a Game Boy Advance when you were a kid?
No, I don't think.
Okay, because what those cutscenes are in the beginning are what most Game Boy Advance games had. Like the slideshow style cutscenes. Like, immediately that's what I thought of when I saw that, even though I didn't know at first it was a Game Boy Advance port.
Well, yeah, and whenever I learned that it was an advanced port, that entire intro sequence made complete sense, because that's what that was known for. No matter what game you're playing, it's always those still images with text over top of it. I had a Game Boy Advance as a kid. I played it a lot. So like that took me right there. Like I immediately knew. And that is pretty much all the story that you get. Until the very end where you get more still images after you beat it. There's also the diary, which is so bizarre. I don't know how much you read of it, but it basically tells you if you've collected everything in a level. Yeah. And it also like just random thoughts that he has during or after that level, which is also odd.
I woke up and I didn't feel great today. Like, okay. So weird.
It's like, I saw Cricket or something his name was, and it's like, he was being rude, so I stung him. It's like, cool.
Yeah, and you can also look at his face above the diary, and it's like, if he's smiling, you've collected everything in the level. If he's mad, you haven't.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I did a lot of research into this because I was like trying to figure out what I'm doing in this game other than just finding the exit. And I guess we can just kind of hop into that as well as we talk here.
Mm-hmm.
You don't really have to do anything other than get to the end. But there's the optional thing of killing all of the gold enemies.
Now, is there more than one? Because I've gone through some of the levels and I only found one. And at the end of the journal entry, it will tell you, oh, I didn't kill any, or I killed a golden thing. So is there more than one, I guess, is the question.
I believe as the game goes, there's more and more.
Oh, okay.
Did you beat the game?
Yes. Yeah.
Well, then you probably saw, like, towards the end, there's like a shit ton of them.
Well, then at that point, I wasn't looking. And if I just happened to stumble upon one, I was like, oh, okay, there's one. And I killed it. And I never really paid attention.
I only killed enemies when they were annoying me. There was no other point.
There's really not.
So yeah, I mean, what you're doing is literally just getting to the exit. That's it. Like, you don't have to do anything else, period.
Yeah, yes and no. You do have to collect flowers because that's part of your energy. I don't know what happens when you get your flowers down to 0. Because you are constantly finding so many flowers that once you get up to 100, you're pretty much set and you're always at 100.
Yeah, I mean, that was never a concern ever, just because, like, there's so many.
In the beginning, when I saw the flower counter going down, I'm like, oh no, this is going to be difficult to, like, you're a race against time to hurry up and collect all these things before you die. But then after, like, level 2, it's like, oh, I forgot that this was even a thing I was concerned about at the beginning.
I don't think I was ever really concerned about it. Like, because there's the energy and then there's the flowers. It's like, who cares, really? Because, like, the levels aren't long either. You know what I mean?
Not in the beginning.
But I feel like even once you get towards the end, they're still, like, it's not as long as, like, a Crash Bandicoot level or anything like that.
Also true. Yes.
I'm just saying, like, I beat this whole game in an hour and a half, you know?
Oh, yeah. It took me an hour and a half as well to get through it. I think that's just the standard, an hour and a half. If you're not really cruising through to look at every pixel of the screen, you'll get through with ease.
But also, there's 6 different endings in this game. And
yes.
I think that is based on you getting every gold enemy, finding every single switch and everything on every stage, right?
I was thinking that too. They do this thing in the journals where it's like, oh, I think I saw a switch 5 levels back that I should probably hit to help me with this. It's like, did you ever go back and actually do it?
No.
Never. I'm like, I have no incentive to go back and actually do this thing, like this side mission you're now finding out about.
So I think after I played, like, the first 2 or 3, I went back to see if it was worth it. And there was just, like, nothing. So I'm like, all right, whatever.
Yeah, there's, like, one section where you have a conveyor belt, and then at the end of the level, it's like, I think back in level 2, there was a button for me to hit to make the conveyor belt go the opposite way. I'm like, why are you now telling me this? Tell me it, like, earlier on.
Yeah, I mean, I also think that I got the bad ending of the game.
I was curious on which one I got, so I was digging through YouTube trying to find different endings to figure it out. So what happened at the end of yours?
He said he was just sick of looking for his grandpa and he just got some honey and went home.
Yeah, I got the same one. He's like, okay, I'm done. I'm just tired. I don't care if grandpa's missing. I'm just going to leave.
And I forget what she said, but the fairy yelled at me in all caps. I don't remember what she said, but she was not happy with me.
I was so zoned out at that point that I probably didn't even read that.
I mean, we can even talk about that because so I played my first half an hour and then I was working on something else and then I was on Discord with Kyle for a little bit and I'm like, hey, you know, I'm going to play this game while we're kind of talking about this. It's going to be funny because you're going to hear in the capture me talking to Kyle because this game is so boring and mind-numbing that I can just play through these levels while having a full-on conversation about just for over an hour. I did this. Like I'm just talking to him right here. I'm just like, yep, just working through the levels. There's nothing. There's no challenge. There's not really any. I'm not going to say it's not fun because, you know, there are fun things about it, but it's just so whatever, you know?
I would say, going off of that, it is fun for at least the first few levels. And then you just keep going and you realize, oh, nothing is changing at all in this game. Like the enemies barely change as you progress.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, you're just still collecting flowers and just trying to find the gold enemy and just getting to the exit. Like the core game from the very first level just never really changes. The only thing that really changes is your background and things look different.
Yeah, I mean, we didn't talk about this, but the only power that you have in this game is you can dash. And as you go through the game, you can dash more and more. So it's almost like a Celeste kind of vibe where you can like dash around.
I still have yet to play that game. I really want to because I think I'm going to have a lot of fun. But
You would love it. But yeah, I think I had 6 dashes by the time I beat the game.
oh wow, we literally did the same exact thing. I had 6 as well.
I don't think they're optional. I'm pretty sure you have to get them.
I think you can skip them. Like one thing with too is like the music changes when like an event thing is coming up.
Mm-hmm.
And I've gotten the music for an event thing and that I never saw what the event was. So I think you can literally just jump over the people and keep going if you just happen to miss it.
There was one time I accidentally dashed into the ferry and she didn't give me the upgrade. And I had to restart the level.
Yeah. And I mean, to go off that, like once you get up to 6 dashes, you're never really touching the ground at that point. Like it's just nonstop zipping around the level.
Well, and that's what I wanted to say about, us saying this game isn't fun. The dashing around is fun. And if it had the level design to back it up, now we'd be talking. But it doesn't.
Once you get up to like 5, you're like, oh, okay, like just always zipping in enemies, zipping into the flowers. There's a locking on quote unquote system where like you can have multiple flowers like highlighted, and when you do your dash, you'll like zip around all of them, kind of like Sonic does this too.
I do want to revisit this in a second once you're done, but this game does give me some Sonic vibes.
Yes.
But continue what you're saying.
So once it gets to that point, like I couldn't imagine if you get to the point of, oh, you get like 10 dashes or something, you would just be like cruising through this game of being able to just shoot in all these different directions and like bounce off this enemy to hit this enemy. Unfortunately, your dashes don't recharge until you touch the ground with your feet. But
that is actually how it is in Celeste as well.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
I mean, I get it. That makes sense. Why else? Why would it recharge midair? It makes no sense to do it that way.
I do like what it's doing. Like I'm not saying like, oh, this game sucks. It's just the level design is too easy. I think that I'm not saying it has to be hard. It just has to have some kind of challenge, just anything. You know what I mean?
Quite literally anything. When you would think that when you get to the higher levels, there'd be more dying and more challenge. But in reality, I think I only died once because of like an enemy placement and I happened to dash in the wrong direction and then he killed me. That's it. Through the entire game, 1 death.
I died twice. And it was literally just because I wasn't paying attention and I was just kind of like doing whatever. It wasn't because it was challenging. It's just because I was like zoned out.
Yeah, exactly. So if there was literally anything to this game to just say, here's your cool, awesome dashing abilities and like making you feel like something's happening, then I would be having so much fun. But the fact of, oh, here's that enemy from level 1 again and level 20. It's so boring.
So we're here talking about how the ideas here are great. They're just like not utilized properly. And that goes even farther with the upgrades.
Oh, yeah. I forgot about that, honestly.
Why does this game even have this, first of all? So the way it works is you find these cards in levels. They are random, which ones you find. None of them are set drops.
Nope.
You have to have all of them in a row or a column to get these abilities.
Oh, is that how that works?
Yes.
Okay.
I only got one the whole time I played.
Oh, I had like 3.
You had 3 like rows filled out?
I had 3 power-ups.
That's crazy.
What was the one you got?
I think it was something to do with the amount of life I had. I honestly just don't even remember because it doesn't matter. But
Yes. So that was the life bar increase.
Mhm.
I got that twice, and then I got I take less damage from enemies. That's a good one. And the other one was the enemies are less powerful. So on top of taking less damage, they provide less damage. So that kind of works
Did
nicely
you
together.
notice any meaningful difference though?
I never really got hit by enemies. I don't know.
Yeah.
It goes back to what's the purpose of this? Because if there's a challenge to the game, awesome. Those things would be very useful. There's no challenge to the game. So it goes back to those things being useless.
Well, they even do this cool thing where they're like, okay, you can only hold, I believe it's 25 of those
Yeah,
things.
something like that. Yeah.
Something like that. But you can only hold a certain amount. So you have to choose which ones you want to keep and which power ups you want. So in a good game, you would have to pick between these different power ups and see what suits your play style, how you want to go forward. But in a game so easy that it means nothing, you just don't think about it ever again. Like, I got a power up, I was like, oh, that's cool. Anyway, time to move on.
Mm-hmm. And whenever I was collecting the cards at first, I'm just like, what is this? Like, is this a special skill that I need to push a special button to perform? And I had to go digging through the manual to even figure this out. I'm like, what is this card I got? It doesn't make any sense.
Was there anything good in the manual? I didn't even look at it because I didn't feel like I needed to.
Honestly, I skimmed through it. I didn't really pay attention. Like you said, I just needed to see, is there any more buttons than just one button to push? No? Okay, I don't care.
Yeah, dude, it's just so basic. And every aspect of this game, it's like, you see how it could have worked really well, but I don't know. I feel like this is a theme lately that we keep saying where it's like, this feels like, oh, the sequel would have been great. But I really feel like this one, if this was made into a 3D platformer or even just a 2D platformer with any sort of challenge, we'd be looking at an 8 or a 9 here, straight up.
Immediately, yes. And that's why I brought up the question in the beginning of the game or the episode of, because this was Game Boy, is this fair? Because like it has to be simple to a Game Boy system. So when they just port it over to PlayStation, it's going to keep its simplicity to it. It's not like they're going through and like redesigning every system of the game. So on a Game Boy system, this makes sense. Like why it's simple, why there's not much variety. On a PlayStation system, it does not make sense.
But honestly, even comparing this to other Game Boy Advance games, this is like so simple. Like,
Oh, okay.
yeah, the Game Boy Advance is pretty much on par with like Super Nintendo-esque stuff.
Oh, okay.
So like, Mario World, Donkey Kong Country, those are like this, but way more involved, way more going on. I don't know, even for Game Boy Advance, this is like just a generic run-of-the-mill 2D platformer.
A thought I had, and I don't want, again, I keep having these statements that make it seem like I'm dissing a group of people, and I swear I'm not. But this has the energy and the feel of developers who had to make a game for a 48-hour jam fest or whatever that's called. Game jam.
Yeah.
Like it's simplistic graphics, simplistic gameplay, simplistic level design. Like that's the things you see in these game jams of like, oh, we only have 48 hours to build a game. We need to make a game fast. This is the product that you would get out of that. And I'm pretty sure game jam games are even better than this that people do in 48 hours. So it's mind blowing that like an entire team worked on this when like a team of 3 people can shit out a game better than this in 48 hours.
I am so hesitant to say like developers are lazy or like whatever other kind of blankets thing like that you want to say, but I just don't really know where their heads at with this because I truly think the gameplay is fun. Controlling Pinobee is good. The dashing feels good. It's just they don't do anything with it. So,
but before we go too far, I want to say like I'm not saying that the developers were lazy. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just saying like For what they did for the Game Boy, it works. For the PlayStation, it doesn't. So I feel like...
I just mean we've said stuff like that before is all I was saying. I know you're not saying that in this scenario.
Yes. Okay, I just wanted to point that out.
But like, I wanted to kind of get here, like, you know, the director of it being the guy that created Sonic, he is not the guy that made the game. He is the guy that created the art and the character.
Oh, okay.
So to me, this kind of reminds me a little bit of Sonic 1 in that way, where, you know, Sonic 1 had a way better start. But this is kind of like that, where you have this character that's okay. The game is like, but, you know, it needs Sonic 2 to solidify it as one of the best. Because Sonic 2 is amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Sonic 1 is good, but it's nowhere near Sonic 2. So,
no.
You think about it like that. Like, if this was... They had a sequel to this, even if it was a Game Boy Advance game, and it was just, like, way more involved, I think we'd be looking at something really good, but...
Well, they do have a sequel.
You're right. I forgot about... I did that whole fucking spiel, and I'm like, oh, wait, they do have a sequel.
You were making me think that I read that wrong whenever I did the research. Yeah, they made a whole second game off of this.
Did you look into it at all?
No.
All right. Let's have a quick break right here and take a look at this game.
The first for the episode.
So we looked at the sequel, and yeah, it's the exact same fucking game. So, you know, my point still stands. I think that if they put effort into a sequel that was more than just, hey, now you're playing as a different character and you can swap between them. You know, just some kind of effort to upgrade what this is, because they have such a good start with the actual controls. That's all I was kind of getting at.
It makes me wonder too of being a part of Sonic and whatnot. I wonder if it's like, hey, I was part of Sonic, but we can't directly rip that off. So how do we come close without directly saying, oh, this is just Sonic, but with a B?
To me, this kind of has a Sonic for babies kind of vibe.
See, I was thinking Rayman for babies. Like, it just has like the Rayman graphics and whatnot, but it's just like, oh, but for kids.
Yeah, I mean, either one works, I guess. I mean, the still, like, the point is that, you know, it's for babies. So,
and I that would let that pass, because the simplicity would justify that response of there's no difficulty here. So for a kid, this would probably be really difficult, maybe. And in that sense, I can understand why they did the decisions they did. But being two people who play games fairly often.
Well, now you got me a little fucked up, because I hadn't really considered that. Like, what if this is specifically made to be a children's game?
Yeah, you know, me even making that statement, I'd never really considered that while playing the game. So,
because if we go down that route, I mean, that kind of might change everything.
It could, but we don't know, because none of the research I did said anything about that.
I am conflicted now, because I'm like, if this is made for kids, then it makes sense that it has really solid gameplay, but it's just really easy.
With no real variation between enemies, it makes sense, because a kid would, depending on the age group, probably wouldn't.
I'm going to go ahead and say right now, that criticism to me still stands, because you can still have enemy variety even though it's for kids. Like, that right there, that's laziness. And speaking of laziness, the music in this game fucking sucks.
Oh my God. So whenever level 1 starts, I'm like, oh, I actually really like this song.
I hope you really like it.
But then, then you realize, oh, this song never changes for the entire game. So you're stuck with one track for the entire hour and a half you're playing this game.
I think there's maybe 3 or 4 songs total in the whole game.
In the entire game. You have, well, that's not true. So you have the main song, which is through every single, 21, 22 levels.
Mm-hmm.
You have the menu music.
I do like the menu music, by the way.
Yes, very good. And then you have those that random jingles. There's a few different jingles of like when you come up on Cricket, when you come up on the ferry, and when there's one level where it's like raining and the music gets really boss like, as if you're about to fight a boss, but nothing ever comes from it. And I don't know what that's about.
I did fight 2 bosses, I believe.
Yes. We never made it to the third boss because I guess you need to be on track for a good ending to fight the final boss.
Yeah, there's like a few more levels you get plus the final boss.
Yes.
I didn't care enough to go back and do that. I mean,
and I went back. Did you watch the gameplay for the final boss?
No. Is it just super easy?
Oh my God. So it's a 2-phase boss. And this also goes back to like maybe being for kids, because the first phase of the final boss takes 30 seconds to get through. The second phase takes 2 seconds to get through. So I don't know. I guess that almost kind of justifies what we were talking about, that this might be for kids.
I'm doing research as you're talking because I need to know the answer to this.
Yeah, because this could drastically change the scoring at the end of it.
All right, let's take a quick information break. Second time this episode. Who thought Pinobee would be the one to get us?
This is the episode that breaks us.
We tried to look something up. There's no information anywhere. I mean, obviously this game is obscure and just no one's thinking about this. So I'm going to go out on a limb here and say I think that the game was probably made to aim towards kids, but not for kids in particular. You know, kind of like Mario, right? But Mario is a good example of that because it still gets challenging for adults. This game does not. So I don't know. There's always the thing where it's like, for example, do you criticize a kid's movie for not being a good movie? It's made for kids. But then you have Pixar, who makes good movies that are also for kids. So, you know, I kind of feel weird about that and don't know where to go. But this could be a discussion once we get to our scores, I think, together.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't really have anything else to say, really. We didn't talk about the bosses, but they're beaten in like fucking 15 seconds, 30 seconds. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'm thrown off now because this is the first time we've had to like stop mid-episode twice now. And I'm always like, now I'm completely discombobulated on where we're going with this conversation.
Well, that's the thing. We talked about everything already anyway. You know, we were just kind of going to get to the bottom of some things we didn't really know about, but there's also no information anyway. So I think with that, we just get into these reviews and then continue this kind of discussion we're having now with the scores.
All right, yeah.
So being consistent with the rest of this episode, I found one single review for the PS1. I included a review of the Game Boy Advance version as well, just to kind of get us, you know, to see how people were feeling about it, because it is pretty much the same game.
Right.
So the PS1 version, official PlayStation US magazine gave the game a 2 out of 5, and they said, "Oh, how the mighty have fallen. Once upon a time, the original PlayStation ruled supreme, powerful and packed with top-tier titles. The PS1 was unstoppable, and now, our favorite aging console has to suffer the indignity of a straight port of a generic Game Boy Advance title."
Wow.
I obviously don't think it's fair to blame the PS1 for this.
Not at all. It's such a weird thing. Plus, 3 years after the PlayStation 2 is out, remember that. Like, there's no point to be like, oh, remember that old crappy system? Like, what are you talking about? This is like, just because one bad game comes out for it, I mean, there's multiple bad games for it, and you're going to say like, oh, it's the PlayStation's fault for this?
I think the only other games that were still coming out on the PS1 at this point were sports games, which like those always happen that way. But
oh, okay.
It's a bad game. You know what I mean? Like, I understand it. Like, I don't know. Whatever. IGN gave the Game Boy Advance game a 6 out of 10, and they said, "Good character doesn't mean good gameplay. And while the control of Pinobee is swell, the stages are empty and dry. There are few puzzles, few surprises, not even many landmarks to let you know where you are in a stage." And I forgot to bring that up because there are times where you're like, where am I again? Everything looks the same. Even like the kind of obstacles are the same. It's, you know, it's just boring.
And to go off of that, we completely skipped over the map. I don't know if you took a look at that.
Not really, no.
So there's a level, like when you get into later levels, you go into the map, it is huge, like packed with like platforms to get to like this one, the very, very tip top right of the screen or something. It's like, I'm not going to go up there and to see what it. Maybe there's one of those cards to get an upgrade. I don't care. And to your point, you can easily get lost. So even looking at the map is like, well, I'm here. I somehow need to get way over here. Like I would use the map to figure out where the exit even is.
Yeah.
And then just beeline it, no pun intended, straight to the exit.
Well, there's also those weird doors that teleport you across the level. There's all kinds of stupid shit in this game that doesn't mean anything.
It's also weird too, because with the map, it literally shows you 100% of the level. So you can see all these secret areas.
Mm-hmm.
Why would you not make the map be like the whole fog of war thing of when you just like go through an area, you're like, oh, I discovered this much. Then the secrets are actually a secret. But when you're like, oh, look at this secret area right over here, you just got to get to it. It's like,
because that makes too much sense. Yeah. That makes sense and easy and fun. But all right, let's get to our scores here. I feel so conflicted on this. I think
now, like my score is just like, where do we go with this? Because are we going to do it as based off of like it's a child's game?
Let's just do our usual thing and then we'll go from there.
This might be another episode where we just talk through our scores together and come to a thing.
So where I was kind of sitting was, I do think playing the game, moving around, the controls and stuff, that is fun. The dash, very fun. But that's it. It's not a bad game. It's just so bland. So I was going to go with like a 5 to 5.5. That's kind of where I was sitting.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, I'd probably end up, based on the discussion, I'd probably stick with a 5 is where I would go. Don't write this down yet. Let's talk first, but let's say I would go with a 5 to start.
Interesting. Because where I was sitting was between a 3 to a 3.5.
Whoa.
I agree with you that the flying around is fun. And when you get up to 6 dashes, probably even more, the game becomes really fun to navigate. But is navigating a game worth justifying that it's a good experience to give it a 5?
Would you rather play Tomb Raider than this game?
Yes.
That's insane to me.
You wouldn't?
I don't know. I mean, I had a bad time playing Tomb Raider. I had a bad time playing Invasion from Beyond, Saga Frontier, Cool Borders, Alone in the Dark, Magic Carpet. Like, I don't know that this is necessarily a bad game. It's just an incredibly unremarkable and bland game.
But doesn't that, by definition, make it a bad game? Like,
I don't know. That's why we're talking about this.
So, me giving it a 3, I'm like, is it better than D? Maybe, but barely. Is it better than Millennium Soldier? Everything's better than Millennium Soldier. So, yes. But then I get to like the next levels up around the 3 mark for me. It's like, okay, Cold Borders 1 and Panzer Front. Do I think that this can beat those? If anything, maybe Cold Borders 1. But I feel like even Panzer Front had
You'd rather
more
play
of a game.
Panzer Front than this. That is
to
psychotic.
Play this again? Are you kidding me? Like, yes, okay, Panzer Front was difficult. It was difficult. I give you that.
But the controls were bad. These controls are at least good.
You have bad controls with a decent game, or good controls with a bad game. Like, you pick your battle here.
Yeah. I don't know, man. I just think that this is not that bad. Like 3.5, that is like throw it in the toilet. This is shit. Like, I don't think this game is that. I just think that it's too easy and boring, but it's not bad to play. Like Invasion from Beyond, for example, I literally got angry playing it. Tomb Raider, walking off the edge and falling off, or like just, not being able to get these things perfectly made me angry. This is just a cozy, childlike experience. Does that make it bad? I mean, that depends on who you are, right? If you're a kid or someone who's not very good at games, this is a 8 or 9 to you probably, right? Like,
and that goes back to what we were trying to figure out earlier of, are we going to base this off of this was solely designed to be played by little kids? Because if that's the case, I can give a lot of this a pass. But if it was designed to be played by everyone and not just specifically a target of younger kids, I think we need to hold it to a higher standard.
I do not think personally that this was made for little kids. Like, there are games you can tell, like, we're going to play them at some point, like, you know, like Mickey Mouse, like educational games and stuff like that. Like, those are made for kids. This to me, I do not think was made for kids. I think it was made to lean towards kids and lean towards people who like this sort of thing, but was supposed to be like a Sonic or something like that, where, you know, everybody can enjoy it.
I can agree with that.
I'm going to stick with my 5. I don't think it's that bad. I think that you're overreacting a little bit, but you know, you give it what you want. Like, you know, that's why we're here.
Because going back of like our list, Tale of the Sun, and Lego Racers, those are towards the bottom. But I honestly think I'd rather play Tale of the Sun than play this again. I think the Tales of the Sun has more to it than this game does.
I mean, you're definitely true there, but I don't know. We can't argue about it. There's not like you have your score, I have mine. I think just do the thing. Let's see where we're at.
All right, so you said 5.
Yeah.
Okay. I kind of get what you're saying. I'll at least bring it up by a 0.5. I'll go with the 4.
Okay. I mean, you don't have to change because of me. I don't think it's that bad. I don't know. I think of the games that are down here, and those are games that are like leaning offensively bad to me. Like, I would never want to play pretty much anything Saga Frontier and lower ever again, even for like a joke. Because like those games are bad. Like, I wouldn't be like, haha, let's mess around with this, you know, but everything above that to me is like, I can see where there could be some enjoyment there in the right circumstances. And to me, this game does not go into the, I hate it. It's just whatever.
Yeah, and I think we just have differing opinions on what that stands for. Like, to me, getting through it once is enough. I didn't have fun playing it, but it wasn't like I'm contemplating if I even want to finish this for the show, like Brain Dead 13 was. Like, that was absolute just torture.
Oh, and that's why that's the very bottom of the list.
Yes. But I mean, I think based off of what you're saying, anything below Saga Frontier you would never want to play again. I think that fits. And that's where this is. It sits at a 4.5, which is below Saga Frontier. So I think that is a nice position for that. So we tie with Invasion from Beyond and Tomb Raider and Soul of Samurai.
I mean, I already disagree with how this is aligned as it is now.
Wait, why?
I think Invasion from Beyond should be at the bottom of all 3 of those. But I don't remember how you convinced me it should be above them.
I just remember having fun with the game, and I think you didn't want to argue about it. So you're just like, yeah whatever.
Yeah, whatever. But I mean, honestly, you could put this wherever you want. I think in my ideal world, it would probably go Tomb Raider, Soul of the Samurai, this, then Invasion from Beyond. But with what we have here, I'd probably go like maybe between Soul of the Samurai and Tomb Raider, I guess.
That's kind of where I was thinking. Again, me saying I'd rather play Tomb Raider than this, and I'd hold to that. As much as it hurts me to say that, I do hold true to that, and I would think it'd go below Tomb Raider. Yeah,
I mean, I was just trying to think of somewhere where we would both kind of meet in the middle, and that's where it made sense for me to go. Because like Soul of the Samurai, I remember that game was a nightmare, but I liked the idea of it more than I liked actually playing it.
Yep, and same like with this. I love the idea, and just playing it could have been a lot better.
Who knew we'd go so deep with all this on Pinobee?
Whenever I picked this, I did not expect this to be the episode that like broke us and like we had to do research mid-episode.
It was a fun episode, so that there's that, you know. But
so before we get too far away, this puts us at 66, right below Tomb Raider and right above Soul of Samurai. Wow, I never thought such a deep discussion on such a low rating game.
It's very weird, and I think it's just because there's a lot of things to talk about with this, even though none of it really matters. But it's so clearly defined, like what the game is and what it's trying to do. So it's easy to pick it apart, even though when you pick it apart, it still doesn't matter, you know?
Yeah.
But all right, that is going to do it for us. Thank you so much for watching or listening. If you enjoyed this, please remember to like and subscribe, as well as give us a rating on podcast services. We'll see you next week.